The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, a diplomatic balancing act. Welcome. In the shadow of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the world saw what nuclear weapons could truly mean for humanity. The devastation of 1945 didn't just mark the end of a war, it marked a turning point in how the world viewed power, security, and survival. And today, we're going to explore something that was born from those very lessons. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, or simply the NPT. Why does it matter? Because this treaty is one of the reasons the world hasn't spiraled into a full-blown nuclear arms race, at least not completely. It's a fragile pact that tries to hold the line between deterrence and disaster. Let's walk through what the NPT is, why it was created, and why, decades later, it's still a hot topic in global diplomacy. Chapter 1. Why was the NPT born? After World War II, the world entered the Cold War, a tense standoff between the US and the Soviet Union. By 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis brought the planet within inches of nuclear war. Meanwhile, other countries were watching and wondering if they should get nuclear weapons too. The world had seen what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. 2 cities vaporized, over 200,000 lives lost. Generations scarred, physically, emotionally, and geopolitically. That horror became a cautionary tale and a warning. By the late 1960s, the US, the Soviet Union, and the UK realized if nuclear weapons kept spreading, it was only a matter of time before a miscalculation or conflict would trigger catastrophe. So in 1968, the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons was signed. It came into force in 1970, and it had 3 main goals. First, prevent the spread of nuclear weapons to countries that didn't have them. Second, encourage disarmament among those that did. Third, promote peaceful use of nuclear energy under international safeguards. Sounds noble, right? Yes, but also very complicated. Chapter 2. Nuclear haves and have-nots. Under the NPT, only 5 countries were officially recognized as nuclear weapon states, the same 5 that had tested nuclear weapons before 1967. United States, 1945, Russia, then the Soviet Union, 1949, United Kingdom, 1952, France, 1960, China, 1964. These 5 got to keep their nukes for now, but agreed not to help others build them and to eventually disarm. In return, other countries agreed not to develop nuclear weapons and would get access to peaceful nuclear technology under strict conditions. To oversee this, the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, was tasked with verifying that nuclear materials are used only for peaceful purposes, like energy and medicine, not bombs. But not everyone was on board. India refused to sign the NPT, calling it discriminatory. It tested its first nuclear weapon in 1974. Pakistan, after its regional rival India went nuclear, followed with its own tests in 1998. Israel never confirmed or denied having nuclear weapons, but is widely believed to have developed them in the late 1960s. North Korea was once a member of the NPT, but withdrew in 2003 and tested its first bomb in 2006. So while the treaty aimed to stop proliferation, it couldn't stop it entirely. And that leads us to the tricky part. Chapter 3. The treaty's tensions and shortcomings. On paper, the NPT is about balance, but in reality, it's a diplomatic juggling act. Non-nuclear countries often say, wait a minute, we followed the rules, but the nuclear powers, they still have thousands of warheads. And they're not wrong. The 5 nuclear weapon states made a promise to disarm. But progress has been slow, painfully slow. Some would say almost symbolic. At the same time, the world has had to grapple with fears of secret nuclear programs. Iran, for instance, insists its program is peaceful. But many countries, especially the US and its allies, expressed deep concern. This led to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, in 2015, an agreement to limit Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief. But the deal has been on shaky ground ever since the US withdrew in 2018. So the tension goes both ways. Non-nuclear states want fairness and disarmament. Nuclear states want to prevent others from joining their exclusive and dangerous club. The result? A treaty that holds, but just barely. Chapter 4. Why the NPT still matters. So why do we still care? Because despite its flaws, the NPT has helped keep the number of nuclear-armed states relatively low. Without it, we might be looking at 30 or 40 nuclear nations, not just 9. And let's be honest, in a world where wars still break out, where mistrust runs deep, and where technology makes everything faster and riskier, that's no small achievement. The NPT also provides a platform for diplomacy. It's not perfect, but it's better than silence or suspicion. And in a time when geopolitical tensions are rising again, nuclear threats are back in the headlines, and arms races feel less like history and more like tomorrow, this treaty might just be the thread keeping diplomacy alive. Closing words. A treaty worth talking about. The NPT isn't perfect, but it may be the only thing standing between order and proliferation. Understanding it and improving it isn't just the job of diplomats. It's a responsibility for all of us who believe humanity has better choices than mutually assured destruction. Thank you for watching, and remember, peace isn't passive. It takes effort, dialogue, and sometimes, yes, a treaty that dares to imagine a world without the bomb.